Okay, so if hacking and cheating wasn't enough with software, how about some hardware? Would you consider paddles on the back of a controller to be cheating? Well, most people would say not. It's just paying for a hardware upgrade. Well, how about on a keyboard? And it's not just the hardware and the buttons for this. Razer's got a new keyboard that is basically cheating. You guys tell me what you think. I don't. Well, let's see.
This is what game movement looks like on Razer's new keyboard. It achieves perfect strafing inputs. No movement overlap, no delay between directions.
So if you're normally moving backwards and forwards, strafing, left and right, there's oftentimes you'll push both buttons at the same time, which makes you perfectly still. That is wasted time when you could be transferring locations. This is something that actually controller players and mixed games complain about a lot. When you're even moving from left to right on the stick, even from turning your body or turning the actual character, like strafing or looking, you have that period in the middle that is longer to transfer over from left to right than what it takes to just switch keys on the mouse and keyboard or on the keyboard. But it gets even faster than that.
Direction changes. This movement accuracy is 100%.
There's no crossover with both of them being pushed at the same time, which in a game like Counter-Strike, the entire concept of this counter-strafing is while you're moving one way, if your character is moving, you are not accurate. It doesn't shoot right in the middle of the dot. So what people will do is while you're strafing to the right holding D, you tap A to stop your movement completely, counter-strafing, moving in the opposite direction of the way you're going, to get then perfect accuracy and hit the headshot. It is an incredible skill. I am complete ass at it. If you didn't see my last Counter-Strike tournament I played in against Summit, don't watch it, but know that I did get second place.
And impossible on a normal keyboard.
I needed this.
In the past, this way of input handling has been determined as cheating. Razer, though, are calling it SnapTap. It's a free update that's available on their Huntsman V3 analog keyboards, and after testing this thing out, it is 100% something that we need to talk about. Normal gaming keyboards look like this. You've got a 2mm actuation point. Beyond that, the key is active, and above that point, the key is reset. That's pretty much it. The main issue here is that there's a lot of delay between what you intend to happen when you press or release a switch and the point when that actually happens. But then, Wooding mostly fixed this. They came out with their adjustable
This is another
actuation
keyboard
points, making
company.
the press delay basically as minimal as you'd want, along with a feature called Rapid Trigger, allowing the switch to instantly reset the moment it starts lifting up. This feels leaps and bounds
Yeah, that's
more
actually
intuitive
crazy.
to
That's
play
really
on.
good.
And since the majority of keyboard input lag is actually the physical travel of the switch, it offers literally multiple frames of lower latency pressing and releasing switches. But there's actually one more thing. On the Wooding, it is still technically possible to overlap your movement keys. If you start pressing one direction before releasing the other, you're technically actuating both keys at the same time, and in most games, this will give you no input. The chance of this happening is way lower than a regular mechanical keyboard, but it is still there, and that is where this new feature from Razer
Dude, it looks so crazy in
SnapTap.
Overwatch.
It only activates your last pressed input, now making it impossible to overlap your movement keys. If you hold down one key and then press the opposite direction without releasing the other, you'll just start moving in that new direction. There is no movement overlap at all, and there's also no delay between the left and right movement. You can be moving in one direction on one frame and then instantly get an input in the opposite direction, literally the next frame. No other keyboard can do this. Now in Counter-Strike, the most important movement technique to learn is called counter-strafing. It's when you release one movement key and then tap the opposite one to stop moving as soon as you possibly can. In this game, you only have full accuracy at 0 movement velocity or very close to it, so the sooner you can stop moving, the sooner you can fire.
Look at that difference, dude. Look at the difference of this.
To it, so the sooner you can.
It's already on. Boom, headshot. This is why I was going around corners and I was like, how am I already dead? I couldn't even get a shot off, but boom, locked in, perfect headshot.
Stop moving, the sooner you can fire an accurate shot. And this technique takes a lot of practice. It looks easy if you've never tried it before, but consider the precise timing that you need to release and press that new switch every single time in the heat of a game, with no movement overlap and no delay between those inputs. It is legitimately something that you could still be improving after thousands of hours of playing this game. This keyboard though can do it perfectly every single time with like no effort. All you need to do is be moving in one direction and tap the opposite direction. You get a perfect counter strafe every single time.
You don't even have to with this, you don't even have to let go of the other one. And that's why I think you switch between them so quickly, is it just overrides the last command. You don't even have to release it like the other one. It's not when the other one releases.
Kind of perfect. I mean, frame by frame, this is as perfect of a counter strafe.
This is what I wanted to get and try.
Allow. So here's a bit of a counter strafing simulation.
To put it in perspective, obviously this is really big in Valorant to a degree, obviously Counter-Strike, but in COD, it doesn't really matter that much. It might have an effect more like in Overwatch, where you could do these crazy-ass jiggles that you can't even stay on. But even in that game, there is, I think in COD, there's slower momentum between direction shifts on strafes. I do a lot of that even for... And you do like wiggle your shoulders and your head when you change direction. So that's where I think you could be the most powerful, is just countering snipers who are trying to headshot you if you're constantly like flipping your head all over the place while you're trying to lock a shot on. That's kind of what I want to try.
Between the Razor Huntsman Mini V3 and the Wooding 60.
If it isn't
These
cheating.
two solenoids
What do
will
you
perform
think?
a strafe and a counter strafe, so we can see
shoot,
which keyboard
like
will give us the better movement. And to kind of simulate human error, I've added a tiny bit of overlap. Basically, if you were to start pressing one key without lifting the other immediately, which is way more common than you might think, especially under the pressure of a competitive game, even for a pro player. And yeah, we can see a difference. Razor's snap tap gets us back to full weapon accuracy, roughly 60 to 70 milliseconds faster.
Dude, that is crazy. One attachment in COD will give you about 20 milliseconds. Usually, like that's like a decent amount of aim down sight speed. That helps. That's a full attachment. That's like 3 attachments on your gun in COD to beat the ADS time of the other player. Right? That sounds crazy to even say.
It gets us back to full weapon accuracy, roughly 60 to 70 milliseconds faster. And maybe more importantly,
it seems like nothing, but at this level of like razor thin competition,
here, there are several frames where you'll be at full accuracy on the Razor, but almost full spread on the Wooding. And then in Overwatch, where you don't have counter strafing, but you do have instant changes in direction, it's a very similar result. Not something that's easily noticeable in real time, but keep in mind this is the exact same input happening on both keyboards, but with a different result. I've also only simulated a tiny bit of overlap of just 50 milliseconds. The worse that overlap is, the more dramatic this result will be. But again, the big thing here is how easy.
And what's worse is that it's variable. You're never going to always be the exact same. This literally makes it so it's always the exact same, and it's not even up to your control. You just do it and it automatically happens. Now, this could just be a feature in the game, but the game's not designed for that anyways. And some games counter this on purpose with, like, if you look at Escape from Tarkov, for example, I don't know if they reverted it back in a recent update because I know this was a contention point, but they added more inertia to the game. So if you are strafing or moving left and then you want to move back the other direction, you have to actually, like, even if you push the command perfectly, there's still going to be that delay of the character slowing down and then speeding up to go back the other direction. But even in that, if you're saving 50 milliseconds on your button push to convert the action to start at least faster, that still would give you an advantage over other people that are not doing that, right?
This is to do every single time, and you get a perfect input. I can personally count the number of times that I've played CS. It's enough to know that my movement is pretty bad, but this keyboard turned me into a counter-strafing god within about 5 minutes of practice. It was so easy to do over and over again. Even under the pressure of a 1v1, this keyboard just did it for me. But then I noticed something that's maybe even more broken. If you hold down one direction and keep tapping the opposite direction, you can do absolutely perfect jiggle strafing. Again here, no input overlapping.
So you don't even have to hold the other one down.
It's brutally easy to do. And if you stay within the right dead zone in Counter-Strike, you still technically have full accuracy. It makes micro-correcting with little strafe inputs absurdly easy. You can do perfect jiggle peeks around corners with like no effort at all. And you're a lot harder to hit compared to just standing still or crouching. It's kind of busted in Overwatch as well. I mean, it's like the most insane strafe spam that
Imagine you're a Widowkeeper.
In Overwatch as well.
Widowmaker. or Widowkeeper, trying to headshot this person. You're trying to line your mouse up on that.
I mean, it's like the most insane strafe spam that I've personally ever seen.
It becomes a 50-50 every headshot, even if you line it up correctly.
Actually impossible on any other keyboard unless you're a robot. The usefulness of this in an actual competitive match, though, is definitely up for debate, but used in a more normal way where you're actually dodging and mirroring enemy input, it does definitely feel like a more responsive and clean input. Now, this snap tap feature, this way of only prioritizing your last pressed input, is actually nothing new. It's been around for a while in both Team Fortress 2 and Counter-Strike with something called null cancelling movement. It's a script which basically does the same thing on pretty much any keyboard, and at least in CS, it wasn't allowed in competition. This new keyboard, though, apparently is allowed at the highest level of ESL tournaments, which is going to be interesting for sure. For most people who are just going to be using this to rank up online, though, I don't think that this is like bannable or even detectable because it's doing it at a hardware level. Maybe I'm wrong there, but yeah, I think we're at an interesting point in time with gaming keyboards especially, where game developers and tournament referees need to look at this stuff and actually decide whether it is broken for their particular game. Especially the way that it can be used to AD spam so quickly and so accurately with no error. Yeah, I don't know, that's just not normal. For those that play Valorant though, there's actually nothing to worry about here because Razor's snap tap is actually not that useful. Counter strafing in Valorant is nowhere near as strong as in CS. You do get slightly shorter animations, but yeah, rapid trigger has a much greater effect here. At the very least, it is a nice feature that means that you will never be overlapping inputs, but that's pretty much it. Now, Wooting does have a kind of similar feature to this called Rappy Snappy. It's similar in the way that it won't let you overlap inputs, but instead it prioritizes the furthest pressed input, not the last pressed input like Razor. Wooting's version is pretty harmless, at least for FPS games. It's not too beneficial since most people are going to be pressing their movement keys to full depth. Otherwise, this thing is seriously OP, especially for CS. I can see why a few pro players don't want this thing to be included in competition. Game movement, after all, is a skill. Just like your aim, it takes thousands of hours to get it to a really competitive level. With this keyboard though, you're kind of cheat coding your way to a perfect input. I mean, the fact that I can pick up this keyboard and have like actually better strafing inputs than some pro players out there, that does make this feel kind of broken.
Dude, it's completely broken.
This
what was the other thing in did Wooting put a post? I thought I saw something from Wooting 6 days ago. Our implementation of SnapTap. Wooting's SOCD is basically cheating. This is a quick one.
Oh no, Optima. What did you do?
This is the video here.
I know we can't, but look at this damn poll. Everybody wants.
Should we implement last input priority similar to SnapTap? Everybody voted yes, so of course they are.
Wooting's implementation of SnapTap. So you know what? We're going to call it for what it is, SOCD. Now, of course, it wouldn't just be SOCD if we wouldn't have a Wooting twist to it, so we actually made it a bit better. You can now choose between different SOCD resolutions, and if you feel a bit unnatural about SnapTap, well, we made it feel more natural. It's very simple. When you press both keys to the end, you can have them both active at the same time. It's optional, you can turn it on or leave it off. Give it a shot, let us know what you think, and if you have a cool marketing name for SOCD instead of SOCD, then leave it in the comments below. We're gonna pick up.
So yeah, they snap back to SnapTap.
And who knows, that might be the new feature name.
No need for a razor.
Quickly swooping by just to say, yes, this feature is also available for all our older Wooting keyboards. So that includes also, yes,
that's
the
actually
Wooting
cool.
one of 7 years ago. So
That's
if you're wondering
insane,
how to
dude.
install this,
I
there
never
is
even
a
heard of
tutorial
Wooting before
coming
this,
up. So
but
stay
they
tuned.
seem like they
to
are the.
utilize the
They seem
SOCD,
insane.
please go to beta.
All right, this is just how to do it. But there you go. They got back quick on that. So yeah, right now I'm doing a little stint on the controller and seeing how this goes. You know, obviously full advantage with the back keys there. So it's basically similar thing, I guess. But this is kind of different because it's kind of, I mean, it's macros that are just built into the keyboard or script, right? Which typically scripts, macros in general in like FPS games is no. You cannot do any of that. Sure, in WoW, you know, you could line up some stuff, but even the macros that are in that game are limited to what you could do in game. You can't just have the game play it itself. It's not an AFK game, AFK mobile game. I was thinking of getting this keyboard to try it, but you know, I mean, frick, Wooting might be a play to try that one out too. I'm trying a new headset right now. I'm trying a new keyboard, trying this. I'm just trying some stuff out for a little bit, see how it goes. And yikes! Guess that's what it is. But you guys tell me what you think. I don't know how you would regulate it if it's just going to be built into keyboards. And then how do you know that it's not built into some other keyboard? I guess you can check the hardware in like a LAN would be the best way to do it, but this is just going to get more, this is going to be more widespread. So many macros in WoW Classic. Yeah, you need them. You know what though? I always thought yeah, but it's still not like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Damn, dude. All right, here's the video though. Dude, this guy's great. This is the second video I think we've watched by him, Optimum. I'll link this one again. Again, it's over in Discord too, right here. And if there's any other good big videos that would be good to watch, let me know.